Buckets.
All right.
Let me know.
No, you're good.
You good? You know, we talk about how shitty how crappy our setup is, and this is actually a lot more comfortable than I had anticipated.
Yeah, this is a lot better. We got Lindt chocolate over here.
So Lindt, yeah, huge shout out to Lindt. We're gonna call that our sponsor. We got, water, H2O, also a sponsor. Water is gonna sponsor us. Just
I guess we should show like Guinness though.
Yeah, no, because then the
This is a
school's
PG.
oh, they're drinking.
Yeah. It's water.
It's water.
All right, Adam.
Marcus.
This is our first podcast.
First video, blog, podcast, YouTube video thing. I'm excited.
I am excited too. This is an interesting step in my life, but I'm ready for it.
Okay.
I'm embracing the challenge.
Not a very big step considering we're working with our handycam here.
Nope.
Right to the
On the
handycam.
tripod.
Yeah, a little tripod that I'm pretty sure is broken, keeps falling apart. So hopefully that doesn't just collapse mid-video. That'll be pretty bad.
Yeah.
But so thank you Freeport High School for that. But to thank Freeport High School, we're on our senior project right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to not only enlighten ourselves but the general public with these YouTube videos about the world of sports broadcasting and kind of what goes into it, what goes on behind the scenes, what it's like when we actually do it, and don't fall asleep at 11 like little babies, and then what it's like, when we go to the Basketball Hall of Fame and all the history that is behind this really cool sport. So, Mark, I'd ask you to just give a little bit of background on what you know of basketball and all that good stuff.
All right. So I started playing basketball when I was, I want to say 5. My mom and dad bought me a little toy hoop to shoot on, and from there I kind of just fell in love with the sport. And I had this one video, Space Jam with Michael Jordan. That was my favorite thing. I love that movie, and
Still gotta see it.
and so as soon as I could, I got into basketball camps. I got into Bates basketball camp. They signed me up a year early. I was a year younger, but I really wanted to do it, and my dad got me in there. And so from there, I kind of went through camps and then started playing organized basketball at the Freeport Community, with the Freeport Community Center, and Little Dribblers, and that's where I met Nina and Taylor Shanker and Seth Jones, and they were our team. It was 4 of us. And Nina just got her 1,000 points.
And how many points are you on, Mark?
I was more of an assister. But you say that though, but on our Little Dribblers league, I was the man. I scored all the points. It was pretty cool. I got 3 or 4 and ones. It was classic. But so I really fell in love with the sport early in my life, and but as I got older, got into high school, I decided to move away from that a little bit just because reality kind of sets in, and you're like, well, I'm not going to be an NBA player, so I might as well do something that will help me move forward, and I went to running. But I still play basketball with Adam and the boys all the time, and I don't know, we've really gotten our group to really fall in love with the sport, and we try to do that as much as possible. So,
and just little my history with basketball is much more brief. It mostly was spent with lonely days at the YMCA. I didn't have anybody to hang out with, so I just come out to the basketball court and just kind of shoot around. It's not that I didn't have any friends. It's just
at the Y.
At the Y, you're
Before
sitting there
practice.
before swim practice. I was a swimmer. I have been. I played basketball at pee-wee elementary basketball, basic. Found out that I was just really kind of too goofy to play, but and then so I started working on my shot, and I just enjoyed shooting basketball. It was just something that was kind of cool. And even though I missed a lot more than I made, it was it was something to kill the time. And then, like Mark would invite me to play basketball, and we play with, our friends, and, it was just a nice way to hang out with people, still get your exercise, and, you weren't inside just playing video games. My dad's a huge basketball fan. He's really kind of like turned me on to the sport, and he's kind of generated my love for watching basketball. And that's like where I got this idea from, is that like I just enjoy watching basketball. I'm not necessarily the greatest player, but I enjoy watching. And I enjoy playing. I enjoy getting my like 2 points when Mark decides to actually share the ball. Ground mound to rebound is basically my nickname.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, so, and I'll also talk a little bit about what you want to do moving forward.
Oh, right. So basically, what I'm hoping is that we take, or at least I do, take this operation out of my mom's basement and make it into something bigger. I'm not working on a handy cam. I'll be working in front of a TV camera. I want to become like a sports broadcaster, a sports analyst, be able to, tell these 7'2" men what they're doing wrong, even though I can, hardly shoot a basketball. And that's just something that, like, I was watching Skip Bayless one day, and I was watching him rant and, drool a little bit like he does. And I realized, I was like, you know what, I could do his job better than he can. So I wanted to, kind of explore the world, understand, what it takes to do his job. That's mostly it.
Yeah. So, kind of briefly also, I'm going to college, and I'm hoping to get a secondary education degree of some sort, and I'm going to take this opportunity, taking all of these different things that we're learning, and then putting them together into like a culminating kind of product to teach other people, just kind of using those skills to kind of build on moving forward and in getting into a classroom and teaching people different skills, hopefully history, which is what I want to kind of major in, so that's where I kind of want to go from there.
So just to briefly describe what we're trying to do here, we're going to make 3 YouTube videos. This is our first one, obviously, and we're going to call it Pregame, and it's going to be about just the world of sports broadcasting, everything that goes on behind the scenes that when you watch SportsCenter you don't see that happens. Then the second one we're going to do, which we'll release next Saturday, we're going to talk about how we tried to take everything in week 1 and use what we learned and analyze games ourselves, learn everything behind that. And then the third week, we're going to the Basketball Hall of Fame. Gonna try and film around there if they let us. We're gonna call them, make sure that they will, and we're gonna talk about the history of basketball, and just kind of like basically hope for that to be like our cumulative kind of podcast, and then we'll have 3 out for the general public. And by general public, I mean probably the 3 viewers that will see this video: my mom, and my mom, and his mom. So 4. So there's 4. His mom will only watch it once because mine just usually watches to laugh. But yeah, so that's our general idea.
All right, so let's get into it.
Let's do it.
All right, let me refer to these notes here that we just took. So we did our project. All right, so the world of sports broadcasting. So
I mean, we learned a lot this week.
So we talked to a few different people. We talked to a guy named Pierce Bricks, who is a sports commentator or broadcaster.
Yeah, broadcaster.
We
Down in Albany, New York.
We talked with Travis Lee, who's part of Channel News 8.
It's the head news anchor, I believe. Head sports anchor.
Head sports anchor,
I believe.
And then we also talked with a couple members of the community who have ties with various sports people, and I think one's in LA, who's the voice of the Lakers or something.
I can't remember them. I was trying to think of it the other day. I can't remember.
But we're getting in touch with those people as well, and so basically what we learned is that the world of sports broadcasting has a few different layers. There's like the TV that you see, so that's ESPN, NESN, big names. And then there's kind of like the hodgepodge, people who get information out there and people kind of listen to. maybe on the radio or something like that. And then there's like where we are.
Yeah.
People who are just kind of like doing this for fun and or hoping to get attention. And so
Yeah, we're attention hogs, you know. That's kind of our thing.
yeah. And so when we talked with all of these people, we kind of got the sense that the way that you get into the sports broadcasting world is you get your education, which Adam is going to do. You get and through there you have to make networks, and those networks are going to give you the foot in the door, because it's pretty hard to get into these jobs without somebody helping you along the way. We talked with Travis Lee, and we'll talk to him. We'll talk about his interview too. But I think one of the main things that I took away from that was like he stressed the importance of internships while you're in school, which helps you introduce yourself to more people. You just know more people, and you create relationships with those people, and through those relationships, jobs will open, because there are more people that want to get into sports broadcasting than there are actual jobs in that field.
Direct quote.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the kind of biggest thing I took away from what he told us.
Yeah, and same with Pierce Briggs. He said the very same thing. You know, basically, it's a matter of luck. It's a matter of timing, and you know, once you have those two down, you know, the one thing that I keep hearing from people is you want to hone your voice. You know, you want to make what you're presenting you. Like Mark and I, this is what we do. We have, for probably 5 years now, we've sat down, you know, we talk sports, you know, we talk about the Celtics, you know, being kids from New England, the Patriots. Gotta get that Patriots swag in there. Shout out to Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe the, you know, potential replacement for Tom Brady. We'll see.
Rest in peace.
Yeah,
Tom Brady.
rest in peace. God, he's getting old.
Yeah.
Still beautiful though. Still beautiful.
A faux hawk though.
Yeah, that faux hawk though. Jesus. Anyways, back to basketball and sports broadcasting. But basically, you know, you want to get your foot in the door. You want to do things to impress people, make them realize that you're worth creating a job for. And, you know, that's just like one of the biggest things. Another thing that we talked to both of them about is just like the general nerves. I mean, for us, this isn't really nerve-wracking. We're in my basement. I'm comfortable. As you can see, Mark's wrapped up in a blanket.
It's kind of cold down here. It's like 63 degrees, I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a sweatshirt. You know, we're comfortable men right now. And so, but like, I was thinking about like, what if I went, you know, live air, you know, and you have that like moment where you mess up. And so they basically, you know, it's just a matter of being comfortable with yourself, being confident, knowing, like having some idea of what you want to say, you know, like.
And then just being prepared.
Yeah, being prepared. Like, you know, Pierce would have like a list of things that he wanted to talk about, but he said like what he tried to do is just kind of keep it limited to, just so he has the ability to go off on tangents and, you know, kind of focus, not necessarily, not focus at all, but like he can like talk, you know, for 1 second talk about the Pacers, then he can talk about like the Lakers or something, you know, just keep it open, but have a focus so that you always have something to come back to and know what you're talking about. And then with Travis Lee, it was different because, you know, he has to read the news. And so, like, you know, he'd go on his computer, which you can see at the link that we're going to put in the description. And so, like, he goes on his computer and he types in, this is what I want to say. You know, it's not like word for word, but, you know, it pops up on the teleprompter and he reads that. And he has, like, a basic, like, this is what I'm going to talk about here, here, here. And, yeah.
Yeah. So we met with Travis on
Wednesday.
So we drove down to Portland. We went into his office, his studio. I was actually very impressed with just the amount of technology and like movable parts that they had all in this one space. So in one floor, basically, they had their the Channel News 8 like set, where they shot all of their news, weather, sports, all of that. And then behind that, they had guys who were working with editing things. So, or not editing and like audio stuff. So like working on all the sound systems and stuff like that behind that. And then they had Travis took us into his office, which is basically like his computer, a couple of monitors, and basically showed us what he worked with on a day-to-day basis. So he worked with this one program that would, like Adam was saying, it was basically the schedule for Channel News 8, the whole shebang, the whole show, as well as his show, and what he wanted to do. And so he plugged all that stuff in. And then there was a film room that had all of the tapes of highlights and stuff like that. And I'm assuming that there was other rooms that he didn't show us because it didn't really pertain to us. But there was probably rooms with highlights of or live shots from traffic or other stuff like that. And then there was a place where all the reporters get to do all of their kind of office nitty-gritty stuff, which was pretty interesting. But yeah, I was just really impressed with the timeliness that they kind of kept to, and how kind of almost it's not routine because it is routine, but like how just like organized and like to the point everything was, how efficient everything was, how the reporters were working on their own stories, how Travis was working on his stories, and how all of those movable parts worked in synchronous harmony. Yeah. Worked in harmony to kind of make this finished product at the end, and how everyone was kind of connected through what they were doing, but not necessarily working together, which I thought was pretty cool.
And to your point, Travis, he was working on multiple stories at the same time. He had one about, if you look at the video, he has one about this girl who tore her ACL and she's still playing her entire softball season, but he's also talking to the person who broke 4 minutes in a mile, wasn't it?
No, I think he was talking to one of the racers who was in the race when someone broke 4 minutes.
4 minutes in a mile. So I guess that's impressive. I don't run. And it was kind of cool to just see as the general public, we see the TV. We see, Travis get up there and he goes, last night the Red Sox won by 10 runs and blah, blah, blah. But he had to put in a lot of, legwork, his own legwork. Originally I thought that's what interns did. Maybe it is at ESPN. And, that's, your intern is just, running around finding highlights and stuff. But at, a small channel like News 8, not small, I didn't mean to, offend News 8. But, as a main kind of station,
you have local stuff.
Yeah, you have local stuff, and so it was kind of cool to just see how much effort he actually puts forth into what we see on TV, and I think that's something. It was something that was kind of surprising to me, just because there is a lot of actual legwork that goes into it, and stuff. Excuse me.
Yeah. I think it's very comparable to any sort of sport that you play. In basketball, you go to practice 50 hours a week. If you're on a college team, you play. You do all sorts of drills. You do game film, and you really study and do all of that. And so you're putting in maybe 80 hours a week for an hour game. That's what you're doing here. So you're doing all of this legwork, you're watching all these games, you're doing all of this analysis, and you're just constantly thinking about it. And then we're going to put it into a podcast that's 20 minutes long?
Maybe?
I think to your point, just the stuff that we don't see is still pretty rewarding, because I think the theme that went through everybody that we talked to was the love of sports. We're doing this for the love of sports. People got into sports broadcasting because they loved watching sports and discussing it. And I think that's what drives people to do all that nitty-gritty stuff. And just for that small time on the air or on TV that they're actually being shown. Especially in Travis's case, where he's going to schools, getting those highlights, bringing them back, putting them into a computer, where he's writing his own script that day, and he's going up for 10 minutes,
Yeah, he's given roughly 10 minutes, 20-second clip of an interview that he probably spent 2 hours on.
Yeah.
And that was another thing too. It's just like the whole editing process. We've been trying to do it ourselves, and I mean it's a very time consuming process of cutting what you want. I mean, granted, we're working off of like Windows Movie Maker, so it's it's no like Hollywood production, as I'm sure you can tell by the quality of this video. But it's even still with like high level programs. I feel like it's still like a really just like, because you like kind of fall in love with what you filmed. You put work into that, and you put work into the questions that you thought of and asked, and so it gets difficult to figure out like okay, I have to cut this because I only have like 30 seconds to talk about it, and so I think that's another important thing too.
Yeah. All right. So what do we got next on this little list here?
We got playoffs.
Playoffs. Playoffs.
Playoffs.
Playoffs. All right. So me and Adam for this first week focused a lot on not only going around talking to all these people and putting in that kind of like legwork, but we also came over here, watched a lot of basketball games. I don't have cable at my house, so we can't watch it at my house, or we would. Just because, I don't know, Adam doesn't always want to have me over here.
Not usually, actually. He mostly just invites himself over. Like, I'll like hear a knocking at the door, assume it's like the pizza guy or something, and no, it's just Mark again. Come to use my TV.
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of relationship we have, though. Yeah.
Yeah, let's not get too in depth into our relationship. People don't want to hear that.
Yeah, that's not what the people want.
It's sickening.
All right, so we watched.
Well, before we talk about what we watched, I think we should just briefly discuss the first round and just how beautiful that was. I mean, I know we're probably a little late to the game here, and everybody's talked about it, but that was just a beautiful first round of basketball. What was it, like 5 Game 7s? And like,
I believe so.
Yeah, 5 Game 7s. Damian Lillard's buzzer beater is just still, I mean, that's still on SportsCenter. That's just a beautiful, beautiful shot. And just cold-blooded. I loved it. But just how great that first round was. I mean, even like the Eastern Conference, crossed out Miami and, Charlotte. Yeah, but, Charlotte was working without Al Jefferson. I mean, they had him in there, but,
I still don't know what his injury was. It's something to do with his foot?
Yeah, he had a plantar fasciitis in his foot. And so, that really kind of messed him up. But
he was going in, as soon as they shot him with whatever they were getting him.
Probably, I think it was cortisone's for your knees, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah,
but anyway, they were giving him something during the game, like midway through the game, and he would go in there, put up buckets. Like, he got like 25 and 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a testament to his will and determination to get his team the W. Fortunately, it wasn't enough. I don't know. Miami's just kind of going through the motions at this point.
Yeah, Miami's got LeBron. And I mean, as long as you got LeBron, you're going to win, a large amount of games. He is the greatest player in basketball. I realized Kevin Durant got the MVP this year, but I mean, you can't compare them just yet. I feel like, in the future, absolutely. And Kevin Durant he was beautiful to watch this year, and especially when Russell Westbrook would go down, and just how he would put the team on his back and just carry that was very impressive. But I mean, LeBron is a 2-time champ,
4-time MVP.
I mean, you just can't really compete with that.
Yeah.
But even still, just the playoffs in general. Like, I mean, who really saw the Atlanta Hawks?
Going 7 games with the Pacers.
Like, I mean, nobody saw the Pacers.
Supposed contenders.
Yeah. And nobody saw the Pacers necessarily sweeping because of their slump.
Yeah.
But I didn't see Game 7. For a team that blatantly came out and were like, we'd be fine without the 8th playoff seed, we want a good draft pick.
Yeah.
Playing without their star center. I think
Al Horford.
Al Horford's playing center. And so, just like that, I mean, Jeff Teague went off.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. That was fun to watch. It's probably the most exciting part of their games is when he would sprint up and down the court.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they were just an up-tempo, fast team. When we watched them play, we watched a little bit of those games while they were still going on this week. But they just looked like a faster team. They had more competitive spirit than the Pacers did. And watching them play, it was not so much, oh, we're the 8 seed playing the 1 seed. It looked very much opposites. Like, we're going to come and punch you in the mouth and see what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pacers, they wavered a little bit in those first couple of games, but I think just their pedigree and getting to the conference finals last year.
The legend.
Yeah. And just the fact that they know what they want to do this season, I think, gave them a little bit more. And also, going back to the Horford injury, I think they lacked an inside presence.
Yeah, well, so the Pacers. But more on that later. And, I'm excited to see where Toronto goes from here. I think that they were a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
I think, definitely under the radar. I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, they're in the Eastern Conference. But I think really there's a lot of talent on that team. I'm pulling for them. I think that, we're from Maine, so they're a lot, they're kind of close enough. I mean, obviously diehard Celtics fans, but
Exactly.
but I'll be curious to see where they go in the next couple of years. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, no. They have some good pieces. They have Kyle Lowry, who's the point. He played really well this season.
Does he get traded next year though? Do you think? Because I think he'll be looking for the payday.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Toronto is going to do with that yet. But
I don't know, and they had DeRozan.
DeRozan?
DeMar
DeMar DeRozan.
That's what it is. DeMar DeRozan, who has actually been. I thought of him as just a dunker. He competed in a few dunk contests in the last couple of years, but he showed me these playoffs that he's actually a player. He actually can spot up. He can play facing the basket a little bit. Still a great driver, but he can also kind of shoot open jump shots and contest it sometimes too. So he's got some versatility in his game, which I like. So I mean they have pieces to work around on the outside. I think what they need now is like an inside presence, like they had in Chris Bosh a few years ago.
Should we go on to the second round?
Second round, which we watched a lot more.
Yeah, we watched more in-depth watching of the second round, and I gotta say, it's not as exciting as the first round. I mean, it's still some great basketball being played, but I feel like it's like, boys to men. Well, except for like in the Heat's case because they're all should be having walkers, both teams. But but like with the Spurs, it's more apparent to me with the Spurs and the Trailblazers. You have like that young upstart team that's great. I'm not saying that the Trailblazers, they're absolutely one of the best teams in the West.
They would be the second best team in the...
Yeah, easily.
In the Eastern Conference.
Easily. And so I like the way that they're playing, and I just feel like, the Spurs, they've been there before. They're perennial playoffs, finals last year against the Heat. I think they want that matchup again. Timmy D wants that matchup again. He wants to just, show the world that he deserves to be, well, I mean, obviously he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, but, he deserves to be counted within, the top 10 greats, which he absolutely does. I think that's a very underrated thing about him, is to me, he's one of the top 10 players. He always gets, even in, his, like, how old is he now? 37? 36, 37?
Honestly, I don't know how old he is.
Yeah.
But that's the thing though, like, with most, we're seeing it a lot with, like, KG. We're seeing a lot with Paul Pierce. We're seeing with these older players, yeah, seriously, when you get older, your production goes down. Yeah. Your speed goes down.
Although I will say, Pierce is having to carry that team right now.
Yeah. But, he's like that pivotal role player that you need to give you quality minutes. But like...
Well, I mean, when your all-star point guard that you're paying, like, $96 million for is getting 0 points.
Yeah. Someone's got to step
up.
And it's not KG. KG looks old. But that's what I'm saying. Like, when your older players start dropping off in production, their numbers get lower. Or their minutes get lower. But I think the underrated thing about Tim Duncan is he's over his 16th season at this point. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many seasons he's played, but it's over 16. And his production hasn't wavered. Like, last 2 years ago, they were in the finals, or last year?
Last year.
Last year they were in the finals, and he's getting 30 and 15.
Yeah.
30 points, 15 rebounds. This year he's putting up crazy numbers too. Like, it's amazing to see a player change his game to where age isn't a factor, where you do what you do best and you can still do it no matter how old you are. I think that's really honorable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like his demeanor, you know. I just think he's just a generally nice guy. You know, he does his own thing, doesn't worry about what the talking heads say. You know, I mean, I don't know.
That's just that whole Spurs team, though. That whole Spurs team is just about short interviews, to the point, and get the W.
interviews.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Get the W, and you don't need to talk about anything.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, they're my title pick. I'm gonna say it in the first podcast. I honestly think the Spurs will win the title this year. They're just playing some great basketball. Just the amount of passing that they do. You know, you can have like somebody who's got like an open shot, but then there's somebody else on the wing. You know, it's not about being the guy. It's about being the team. Yeah. And that's what I think that Popovich does a really great job of, you know, expounding onto his players and saying, you know, if you guys want to win, we're going to have to play as a team.
And I think that just goes like even to like the most basic thing of how many minutes everyone's getting. Oh. Nobody on that team plays over 30 minutes, averages over 30 minutes in playing time. And so when you press that on your players, like, no one's going to get 40 minutes. No one's playing a whole game.
Yeah.
Because you need to get in those 6, 7, 8 man from your bench, get them in playing time, make them have good quality minutes, and then you go on to get into those reserve players, so that those people who on most teams wouldn't play at all are getting in there and playing quality minutes, like what's his name? Hayes?
Oh yeah, Baines.
Baines on the Spurs yesterday. I've never seen him play before.
2 days ago.
2 days ago. And he got, 10 points and 5 rebounds?
Yeah, I mean, solid minutes.
In like 7 minutes.
Yeah.
It was just amazing to see how he uses those chess pieces to really elevate the team. And so, and back to what you're saying about, I also think they'll probably win the championship, just because when your bench is scoring 50 points in a game, and the only really notable person on that bench is Manu Ginobili. And
I think Bellinelli, kinda.
Bellinelli, yeah. I mean, like, but when you think about it, like, no one on that bench is like really like outstanding.
Yeah.
They play on other teams, but like they're not like the star players for anyone. Mm-hmm. It's just a testament to how unselfish that team is and how much they want to win. And when you look at other teams, to the point that you made about passing, a lot of it's ISOs, a lot of it's pick and rolls involving 1 or 2 players, and everyone else just kind of watches and hopes they either score or they get the ball to shoot.
It's like playing pickup basketball with you.
Yeah.
You know, you got me and Ethan Pierce, who just kind of pray that you and Harry pass around the ball a little bit. But yeah.
I mean, but like when that's like all of the Eastern Conference is just kind of like that, and some of the teams in the Western Conference, but the Spurs are just they're relentless. They'll score from inside, outside, in the mid-range game with Tony Parker and Kawhi Leonard, and
Kawhi Leonard, man, he's up and coming.
Yeah,
he's gonna be a great.
He's
player.
Quietly creeping into the conversation.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's just hard for me to think about anybody in the Eastern Conference being able to put up 100 points a night.
Yeah.
When you look at all of the rosters,
because I mean Miami isn't even like, you know, I mean, they're not going like 110 points a night. It's still like Miami's still getting like 96. I mean, granted, you know, there's still a lot of points, but
yeah, but like that's heavy on the backs of Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh. Mm-hmm. No one else is really scoring on the team, and like I mean, Ray Allen's been coming on lately.
Ray Allen, yeah.
I mean, you can't have a sustained shooting stroke like he is through another month of basketball. he's gonna find a lull, and they're gonna have a hard time scoring. Whereas we saw it again, game 1, and a little bit of game 2. Just role players on the Spurs, just they step up and they make shots.
Yeah.
And when you get Tim Duncan, who's going to get you 20 or 18 to 20, when you get Parker, who's going to give you 28 a night, Manu is going to give you maybe 10 a night.
Maybe. Depending. But I mean, even to his credit, he's still passing.
He's still passing. He's getting assists. He's getting rebounds.
Because the defense
he's
has
getting
to respect.
foul shot attempts.
Yeah, the defense has to respect Manu because, I mean, he's getting up there, and just his body's getting worn down because of, everything he used to do when he was younger, and hitting the deck and all that stuff. But I mean, you still, you can't leave Manu open for a layup. Yeah. Because he'll make it.
Yeah, and he's playing good defense.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we haven't even talked about the Spurs defense, but the Spurs defense is,
I mean,
it's tactical. It's not, they're not just like, oh, we're going to get up in your face. It's tactical. They're shutting down LaMarcus Aldridge with doubles, occasional doubles, or they're funneling him to Tim Duncan.
Yeah, and Tim Duncan's like shutting him down.
Yeah, they're putting Splitter on him to start, and when if he doesn't take it inside, he's shooting a jump shot over him, which is hard because Splitter's 7 foot. I mean, that's just a hard way to shoot jump shots. But if he's driving to the paint, he's getting Tim Duncan. He's getting Blair. He's getting Baines. Like, all of those guys are like getting up there in his face and making it hard for him. And I think that's what makes them so effective against other teams is they take away your greatest strength. So the Trailblazers are really good at threes and driving to the hoop. And Lillard's not getting in the paint.
Because Tony Parker is playing phenomenal defense on him.
Yeah.
I mean, really. I mean,
running him off screens.
Yeah, Lillard explodes, and so Parker's like kind of keeping him at the 3-point line. So Lillard has to pass it out.
Yeah. And then they're taking away LaMarcus Aldridge's ability to score in the paint. So they're really leaving it up to... actually, they're still running everyone off the 3-point line. They're still playing good defense against all of the bigs. And so Robin Lopez isn't really that effective like he was in the Houston series. But
shouldn't have been that effective in the Houston series either.
But, I mean, even easy buckets. They're not giving up any easy buckets.
Nope.
There's not really that much transition because the Spurs are all over offensive rebounds. Long rebounds. We watched it in Game 1.
Yep.
Just 3 or 4 times in a row, the Spurs are shooting threes or something like that, and it would hit off the back of the rim, and there's long rebounds, and they want it more. They're getting to those long rebounds faster. Those 50-50 balls are all theirs. So it's going to be hard for anyone to really beat them in a series. Even though the Mavericks game went 7, I think that was another
the Mavericks team was good, and I give props to Monte Ellis. Honestly, he would have been my, if I had any actual voting powers, he would have been my most improved player of the year. Because, I mean, and maybe it was just playing on a better team that helped him, and he realized he didn't have to be the guy to take all the shots. But I just found that he was playing a much more consistent game.
Yeah.
And, he would explode to the rim, but he'd also move around, like, off the ball. I mean, you got to respect Dirk Nowitzki. That's another thing, too, is, Dirk and Timmy have about the same, Dirk is a little bit younger, by, like, maybe, like, a year. But, it's... Aldridge is just now, kind of getting into the playoffs and learning what that's like. Those are seasoned veterans going head-to-head.
Yeah.
And I think that's a difference, too.
I think one of the crazy stats that we saw was, like, Tim Duncan has played in as many playoff games as the whole Trailblazers franchise. So every team that they've ever had played in. So that just shows you what experience brings. And
Exactly.
And the Spurs look like this is just another day in the office. They're not thumping their chest. They're not getting crazy pumped. This is go in, get the win, go home. Now they have to travel to the Portland's home crowd, which will be...
It'll be tough. If Portland gets a win, it'll be in front of their home crowd.
Yeah.
They're not getting one in San Antonio.
No, but the Trailblazers fan base is going to be there, and it was crazy. They just watched Damian Lillard hit a walk-off 3 to advance into the next round of the playoffs, which has happened in a few times before?
Like not even a few, like it was like 3 or something.
Yeah.
Like, it was ridiculous.
So they're going to be amped, and that's going to be a fun next couple of games.
And I think also, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
no,
but you know, they'll be more comfortable. You won't have that like deer in the headlights look, which I feel like they've been playing. Because what the Spurs will do is they have their starters come out, hit you in the mouth, they put you down by 10, you're going, oh God, we're down by 10 to the Spurs, what do we do? And I think when they're at home, you know, they'll be like, all right, we're down at home by 10, we can bring back, or
we're going to try to jump out ahead.
Yeah.
We're going to try to be the aggressors.
Exactly.
I think that's what they need to try to do. But moving on to kind of a less satisfactory note, let's talk about Roy Hibbert a little bit.
Yeah.
And kind of what we've seen from him, and kind of our takes on that. So.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody's eating that up. It's basically you go on any social media site, everybody's making fun of Hibbert. The 2 nights ago he had the 28-point game. So I mean, props to him. That seemed to everybody was like, oh well, he's out of his funk. And I can't come to the conclusion that he's out of his funk until I see that, like, consistently. I mean, last night he had 14, which was good. I mean, that's good. That's what you want. You want some solid paint scoring. He had 14, but he still only had 5 rebounds total.
Yeah.
And you can't have that out of your big man. Your big man is 7'2", and when Trevor Ariza has 15, and he's your spot-up three-point shooter, something's going wrong there, So I feel like in order for me to officially say that Hibbert is out of a funk is at least, it's not necessarily about the points that matter. I mean, obviously you want that paint scoring, but I feel like there's a lot of scorers, not necessarily scorers, but like people like Paul George, Lance, and...
Lance will make them dance. Lance will make them
Lance,
dance.
George Hill even, they'll put in shots provided Hibbert can get the rebound.
Yeah.
A
defensive play doesn't end until you secure the rebound.
Exactly. And I will say to Hibbert's credit, he had 3 block shots last night.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think he's improving. I think whatever was affecting him, everybody's saying, well, it was Bynum, well, it was, this and that. We had come up with Bynum was slowly trying to poison Hibbert, because that's how we are. So, confirmed, Bynum trying to poison Hibbert.
Yeah.
But, so once he starts showing, 14 and 10 in 3 block shots, then I'll say, Hibbert's out of a funk, Miami Heat better watch out.
Yeah. But, I mean, when we watched him in our games, he was... We were watching him play, and Gortat is out-muscling him. We looked up the stats online and on his NBA page, and he's 7'2", 320.
Yeah, Hibbert is, yes.
And Gortat's 6'11".
Yep.
6'11" and 240, right?
Or something, yeah.
Or no, I think Hibbert's 300 pounds.
Yeah, Hibbert's a big boy.
But
if he isn't 300, he's close to.
Yeah, the players he's playing against are at least 2 inches smaller than him, and he's got over 40 pounds on any of them. It's
even
not,
Nene.
Yeah, even Nene, he's a man.
Yeah,
he is a man. I just don't understand how a physical presence like that isn't showing up on the score sheet, on the stat sheet.
Yeah, I mean, even defensively, we watch him, and he get lost defensively, and obviously
his
you can't
defense
stand.
Isn't there. Just the instincts, are just he's hesitating at this point.
But I mean, it doesn't even necessarily need to be instincts. I mean, I recognize that he can't stand in the paint, all day, but if he's just standing around the paint, that's a 7'2" guy that you have to go through in order to score a basket. And Jeff Teague would cross up Paul George and just sprint into the basket, and you got Hibbert, who's way out over here, And, granted he's guarding Pero Antic, who could shoot threes. But, I mean, even still, you got to be able to just be that presence. You got to be that guy. You have to be, if you want to be a defensive anchor, you have to play defense.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason why he's kind of getting back to his game a little bit in this series is because he doesn't have to move out to the 3-point line as much. But even still, like, you're only allowed to be in the paint for 3 seconds and then you have to move out.
Yeah.
Just rule-wise. But, like, you should be able to, like, as an NBA starting center, have the instincts to be able to get around that rule, play help defense, and be the anchor that you were half the season.
Well, and then all playoffs last year. His block on Melo last year was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a beautiful block.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. Like I said, basically, I'm just looking for more production off the boards, and once he gets to that, I'll really start believing in the Pacers as a contender.
Yeah.
And the one thing that drives me nuts about the Pacers is I feel like they take wild and crazy shots.
Yeah.
I feel like they get down and they get scared because they're like, oh, we have to at least be with Miami.
No, see, but it's not that. It's not the we have to do it. It becomes an I have to do it. I have to take it upon myself to take all the shots, to make all the baskets, to take us ahead.
Yeah.
So the egos on that team they're not necessarily clashing. It's just like that competitive spirit. I feel like is a challenge for them because when you start thinking as individuals, it's going to be hard to win a game, especially when you have been named kind of the contender against the Heat. Like, people are going to come out and give you whatever they have that night, and if you think of it as individuals, you're not going to be as strong, and you're not going to be able to kind of overcome that adversity as well as you should be able to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Who do we think? Well, we'll talk about that one next week with the next podcast. I think.
Yeah.
Just like we'll get more in depth into the games, but I mean, I think now's as good a time as any to wrap up.
Yep.
Probably been going here for much longer than we thought we were. So yeah, we're gonna attempt, hopefully, if we can understand YouTube, to put the link to our video of us just following Travis Lee around his office. There's a couple of dead spots. Some of my heavy breathing, we had to go upstairs, so that was a rough time. And so that's like 2 hours, so you can skip around there. Just kind of, if you wanted a little bit more information, that's down there. We're going to be back next Saturday, hopefully, with another podcast breaking down the game.
We'll go in more with metrics and stats and stuff like that and come back with you with some hard evidence as opposed to just fleeting notes that we kind of took in our heads about the games.
And our opinions and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, so, yep, this has been the first podcast. This has been pre-game. I'm Adam Brobst.
Mark Donahue.
And we will be back next week with the game.